being different was seen as being bad. I didn't always feel like I fit in just because I was Asian. Both my grandparents lived in California during World War II. Because of a lot of the xenophobia during the time, all these internment camps were opened, and all of the Japanese Americans who were living in the United States were basically removed from their homes. All of their possessions were taken. My grandmother used to tell us stories about what it was like living in the camps. They were contained by barbed wire. There were guards with guns. You know, if they tried to escape, then they would be shot. They were basically treated like prisoners. My grandfather actually joined the all-Japanese unit in the army. All of the Japanese American soldiers that were fighting all came from these internment camps, and they all volunteered. They didn't have to do it. They weren't drafted. My grandmother, she actually passed away this last year, but she spent the last 16 years dedicated to creating this stamp. It's a US postage stamp for all of the Japanese American soldiers who fought during World War II because they didn't get as much recognition as they should have. And it actually just got posted with the US Postage Service in June of 2021. I grew up in California, right? And everyone's like, oh, California, like everyone's so open and friendly. But the majority of my peers were, you know, middle class, upper class, white people. I was the outsider just being Asian. So there was not a lot of diversity where I was, even being in California. I don't really know that I even knew what being gay was growing up. And I think, you know, going to an all-girls Catholic school, I mean, being gay was frowned upon. It was not even talked about. It kind of like it didn't exist. Being gay would have definitely been something that I couldn't even consider. I would not have pushed the envelope at all that far. It was easier to fit in by playing sports, focusing on school. I was very good at school, and my parents were always proud of me, and it's easier to suppress any sort of difference. When I was pre-med, I got a job as a transporter at a hospital. When I started my job, I met my first girlfriend. When I started dating her, I really didn't tell a lot of people. I told a couple people, and sort of come out to my mom. I tried to tell my mom that I was bi. Her response was a little surprising to me, I think, especially her having gay friends. She was concerned about perception. I think to her, maybe it was the phase that I was going through. She was worried. She was like, you know, be careful who you tell. I've always been so focused on my career of becoming a doctor. She was worried that that would affect it. And so she was more concerned about that than she was the fact that I was coming out to her and telling her a big life about. So I had a lot of conflict just internally about whether I was doing what was best for me or best for my family. I kind of took the easy way out at that time to just focus on my studies, focus on my career, not disappoint my family. You know, I went back to dating guys and it was never even discussed again. And I never told anyone else in my family. I fell back into dating kind of whatever guy I was close to at the time. But I don't think I ever really loved any of them. I mean, I remember multiple times breaking up with a man and telling them that it was because of my career. And I had absolutely no feeling whatsoever of losing them. I mean, it didn't affect me. My friends used to call me a heartbreaker because I kind of was like soulless almost. I met my husband in the first year of medical school. He was one of those people that I knew everyone would love. People would meet him and be like, of course you have to marry him. He was tall, handsome. He was also studying to be a doctor. He was really good with kids. He was really sweet. thoughtful. Obviously, I have to marry him. It was almost like I was living with my best friend. It was not necessarily a marriage, I think. Before we got married, I had some concerns. There just wasn't passion, there wasn't romance. And we kind of had our separate lives, which I thought was a good thing. I really thought that was the best thing about our marriage, is that he had his own friends, I had my own friends. I could focus on my career, he never complained. We just lived our lives kind of in parallel, living together, but not together. I let it go on for so long because in my mind, like, I was so happy with everything else, I thought that that was okay. You know, you see a lot of people who are married who seem unhappy and there's not a lot of passion, and you're like, well, they're getting along just fine. And you think, I could probably do it for another however many years, you know? But we ended up trying therapy, and I think therapy showed us that we weren't meant to be together. We were on completely separate planets. He was the one that finally said, I want a divorce. And, you know, I think that was the right decision. I think he was probably braver than I was at the time. I think I didn't want to give up my marriage because I'm not used to failure. And it felt like I was failing. You know, I think even despite all the reasons we were getting a divorce, I think I just kept telling myself that I could figure it out, or I could fix it, or I could get through it, or I actually was going on a bachelorette trip with one of my best friends, and I was talking to her about, you know, I really want to date women, I'm not interested in dating men, and she was super supportive, and she actually convinced me to get Tinder and Bumble. And during this weekend, like, we looked at girls together, and I did meet the first girl that I dated after my ex-husband on Tinder. She agreed to meet me for dinner one night. My best friend, who was really the biggest supporter at the time, before I went on the date, I went to her house and I was like having a panic attack, and I just like laid on her couch and she gave me wine. And I just drank wine on her couch, like holding a pillow, and she was like, you're gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine. So it was very scary, but my first date was amazing. And the first time we kissed right after the date, and I was like elated. I just like felt like I came alive, you know? I feel like I kind of woke up and was like, this is what I've been missing, you know? It was amazing. Being with a woman is just so different than being with a man, because we understand how the other one thinks. We both communicate similarly, and that makes it a lot easier to connect and a lot easier to talk to each other. The first time that I had a breakup with a woman was definitely very challenging. It was the first time I really think I felt heartbreak, because I feel like that connection was so strong. It was so much stronger than a connection I'd had with any of the men before. And so that was challenging. It was really hard for me to get over. And kind of surprising to me too. I was very shocked at how I reacted to it. I thought I was gonna move on quickly like I had with every other relationship. And I was sort of surprised because it hurt worse than, you know, my divorce hurt, because my divorce hurt because I was disappointed in myself, whereas breaking up with a woman was painful because I actually had a connection with her, and that was kind of hard for me to understand. I actually was going through my breakup with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and I posted about it. Stephanie actually slid into my DMs, and she messaged me and, you know, just reached out saying that she had gone through a similar thing, she's been there. And then we started talking and just never stopped talking. We live 8 hours drive apart, which is right around the corner in lesbian terms, I suppose. So we actually planned to meet like a week later. We both drove 4 hours and met in this little beach town. And it was amazing. We spent 50 hours together, and then I had to drive home and go back to work. But it was amazing. She challenges me in ways that I've never been challenged before, and I love that about her. And honestly, this is probably one of the first relationships that there's so much love that we actually fight about things because we care so much, and I've never actually experienced that before. And it's nice. I mean, I hate fighting, but we care so much that we're trying to make things better. Previously, I've been very distant in my relationships because I'm used to working and it not being a big issue and never actually having to worry about anything at home. And I'm starting to realize I need to contribute a lot more to my relationship than I was before. And I'm actually at a point that I want to. I'm putting more of a priority into my relationship because that's more important to me. Very different for me than it had been in the past. I'm just really excited to marry her and have kids with her.